I didn't think we did anything right. We didn't compete. I didn't think we punched back when we got hit in the mouth, and because I thought, just like in Corvallis, this team is a tough matchup because they're long, they're athletic all over the floor, they're big, they're strong, and when they punched, we didn't punch back. And I think they had an opportunity to gain the momentum, gain control of the game, and from that point on, they could do no wrong and we could do no right. Didn't see it coming because we've been so good in the last 5 games. There's a part of me that says just move it out of the way and get ready for the Pac-12 tournament. But then there's another part of me that says Monday morning before we get on that plane, we need to make sure we find our game and practice before we get down there. And that's very important. So we'll figure out that piece over the next 48 hours. But very disappointing to close out a year at home like that with that terrific crowd, the seniors that are here, the seniors and their parents that are here. We could have played better, obviously, and to say I could put my finger on it right now, I can't do that. But all I know is we need to kind of find ourselves before we get down to Vegas again.
You guys talked after the Wooden Legacy about handling success and maybe becoming complacent. Do you think that was in play at all today?
You know, I think you'd have to ask those guys that, because I know how we get ready. We get ready and everything else and get ready for another game, another battle. We really wanted to play well. We had a string of games where we played extremely well. We could go down there, one of the hottest teams in the conference, and then we do this. For whatever reason, this crowd shows up again. We don't rise up and perform. I don't know. You can say it's not been able to handle success. What that means, I don't know, because we really haven't been successful. You know, we're trying to fight and win every game we can, and we're trying to get in a great rhythm before we get to Vegas. And all I can do is move the game out of the way and realize how well we have played in the last 5 games. And you just can't worry about this, but yet I want to make sure we're in the right mindset when we leave on Monday.
They're pretty rugged defensively with their zone. Is it their length that makes that particular zone that much harder to score against as opposed to others?
I think it's their length. I think it's their toughness, and sometimes you just don't match up well with certain teams, and this is one of those teams for us. I saw it in Corvallis. I was kind of concerned about it, and concerned about it again in this game as well, too. But I didn't think, in saying that, we certainly played nowhere with the intensity and how hard we played against Oregon. Now, did we leave all that out on the floor then? I don't know. But we certainly battled a lot more in these last 5 games coming down the stretch. We're a much tougher team. Stanford's a tough, physical, tall, big, strong team, and we battled them like crazy. Utah's physical. We battled them. Colorado's another physical team. We battled them, but for some reason, the 2 games we've played against Oregon State, they've taken the fight to us, and we've not responded.
Are they able to take Malachi out of the game? He had been so good, especially in the home games. Anything that you saw from him or anything that they're doing to him to take him out?
I think the biggest thing when you look at their team, you know, both the Thompson boys are 6'5", 6'6", and they play like 6'8", with that length that they had. Tinko's another 6'6" athlete that plays 6'8". And then you got Eubanks, who's 6'11", plays like he's 7'3", with pogo stick down underneath there. So their length really bothers us, and I think it bothered Mal a little bit too. And it wasn't going to be a game that you could not dictate pace, dictate tempo, and be successful in. And we didn't come out and do that. We were going to be in for a long evening because we let them dictate the pace and everything with their defense and their size.
Stevie Sprayregan, a bright spot tonight for you guys, getting his first start. I think he was leading scorer.
It was important to start him. And I will always do that with my seniors on their last game at home. And I thought he responded well. And, you know, the bright spots were the fact that you've had 2 great seniors that gave up some things to come here to Washington State. Stevie gave up dollars and having to pay his own way here until we scholarshiped him. Drick gave up being the premier player in his conference in that league he was in, and he gave that up to come here. And you just don't see that in this day and age from young people at their age, to give themselves up like that. So I thought they gave a great example of what our program needs to be going forward when you talk about leadership and being an unselfish person and giving yourself up for your teammate, for your school. Those 2 guys are great examples of I hope something we can build around who they are off the court and their character and things. So those were the bright spots for me, that we had a chance to appreciate them and say goodbye to them, even though we have more games. But I'm glad the people came out to show their appreciation. I'm sure their parents appreciated people coming out and thanking them.
Coach, Oregon State had a lot of points in the paint tonight. Does that go back to the length, like you were saying, or some of you guys' shots just weren't falling in there?
You know, I think it goes back in this game for whatever reason. Their toughness was far superior to our toughness. And they dominated the game. They dominated the paint. They dominated the boards. They dominated defensively. There was almost like there was nothing we could do in the game but get through the game. And from a coaching perspective, those are tough games to coach, because there's nothing, no adjustments you can make, because the game gets away from you and they're in such a groove and you're not. So their dominance was all over the floor for whatever reason. And it was more about managing at some point in time to get through the game so we didn't get injured and get this team regrouped before we go on the road to Vegas. So as disappointing as the game was, I've got to go back and look at the positives of where we've come since playing Oregon at Oregon. And then coming out of that with the Colorado, the Utah, the Cal game, the Stanford game, back here to the Oregon game, we've made significant strides. We just had a bad game. Unfortunately, the bad game was sandwiched between the last bad game we had in Corvallis. But in between there, we've done some good things. And I'm going to make sure that team understands that. As much as I wanted to get after them, and I did a little bit, we need to bounce them back on Monday before we get on the road.
So as far as refocusing for that tournament, is it going to be looking at that success you guys have had, aside from this game, over the end of the season here?
No, I think when you look at the Pac-12 tournament, you really have to look at it this way, that it's a new season. We're no longer a young team, no longer an inexperienced team, because we've been through a whole season. We may be a little fatigued, but everybody's fatigued at this time of the year. So you look at it as a new season where everybody is 0-0, and as long as you win, you continue to play. You lose, you go home. So there's a freshness to that for a team like us, having gone through our struggles this year, that, okay, we get to do this again, knowing what we know now. The key thing is make sure the right team shows up at game time on Wednesday night.
Robert, or Robo, Malachi, Viante, you sat them in the last 10 minutes. Obviously maybe trying to keep them from injury, but were you also just trying to have them process what exactly happened on the bench and for them to think about it going into the tournament?
No, actually I wanted to play the other guys to get them ready for the tournament. To play that bench, put them out there, give Renze more minutes, try to get Carter's jump shot back, play Q, who was sick with the flu and couldn't play in the last game, to get him back in the groove. So really tried to play those other guys, because we're going to need them in Vegas. When you talk about playing potentially 4 games in 4 days, you're going to need those numbers, need your depth. So it was more about that. The game was out of reach. I wanted to give those other guys an opportunity to play, kind of get them in a groove, get them in a rhythm.
Last 10 minutes, that group only gave up 16 points. How did you feel that they fought? Renze had 2 or 3 steals.
I don't know if it's that they only gave up 16 points. I mean, Tinkle did the same thing I would do. I would grind out the clock, too. I wouldn't want to put 100 up on Oregon State. I think a lot of that had to do with what they were doing at the other end. His bench, what offense he was doing. He was being nice to me coming down the stretch of the game. So I would probably do the same thing to him, too, as well. So I don't want to say those guys really stepped up and played well and aggressive. I didn't see all of that. I'll look at film. The biggest thing was they had an opportunity to get some minutes and gain a little confidence and gain a little bit of rhythm of just being out on the floor. I don't think they played particularly well to say, wow, that group really started to bring us back. I didn't feel that.
Are you surprised with Oregon State where they are in the standings? Did you expect that team to maybe be higher in the pecking order this year?
You know, I did, with everybody coming back, and that team, majority of those guys all started last year and played. And I think, again, everybody they played has been close game. They took Washington right down to the wire. I think they match up with Washington in the first game of the Pac-12 tournament. That's going to be a tremendous game. I still don't know who we're matching up with until the games are played through this evening, unless somebody knows something I don't know. But looks like Oregon. Good. But that'll give them an opportunity again. I think they're peaking at the right time as well, too.